9 May 1941, 12:45 hours, 300 nautical miles east of Cape Farewell, Greenland. Sub-Lieutenant David Edward Balme, aged 20, Royal Navy, stood in the whaler as it pitched through 8-foot swells toward a German U-boat that shouldn't have been floating. This was the day the British discovered that German overconfidence could be turned into Britain's greatest weapon. The Type Noid B submarine wallowed 500 yards off HMS Bulldog's starboard beam. Conning tower riddled with shell holes, bow canted 15 degrees upward, stern settling, seawater sluicing across the forward casing, 47 German submariners thrashing in 4-degree water, swimming away from their boat as fast as terror could propel them. Their Kapitänleutnant, Fritz Julius Lemp, aged 37, the man who'd sunk SS Athenia on the war's first day, was already dead in the water, and U-110 floated when every regulation, every standing order, every ingrained procedure demanded she be scuttled and sinking to crush depth. Captain Joe Baker Creswell, commanding HMS Bulldog, had given Balme 8 men, 1 whaler, and perhaps 15 minutes before the submarine took her secrets to the bottom. No demolition experts, no intelligence officers, no special training, just a very young sub-lieutenant, 6 seamen, 1 telegraphist, and 1 stoker. "Sir, what if she's rigged to blow?" Balme looked at able seaman Stanley Pierce, 22 years old, South Sea, 3 years' service. "Then we'll know shortly." That was the last conversation before they reached U-110. And the central question, could one boarding party seize what Germany considered mathematically unbreakable before the Atlantic claimed it? Balme's whaler bumped against U-110's port side at 12:50 hours. He grabbed the jumping wire, hauled himself onto the outer casing. The submarine rolled beneath him, 20 degrees to port, correcting, rolling back, seawater across his boots, bullet holes everywhere. Bulldog's 3-inch guns and pom-poms had done thorough work. The steel was warm, diesel fumes and cordite. He climbed toward the conning tower, revolver drawn, expecting return fire. Nothing. The forward hatch stood open. The 18-inch spherical hatch wheel gleamed wet in grey North Atlantic light. He peered down into darkness. Water sloshed below. The smell of chlorine, battery acid mixing with seawater should have been overwhelming. It wasn't, just diesel and sweat and fear. He went down. The lower conning tower hatch was closed, but not dogged. Balme spun the wheel. The hatch sprang open against its clips. Below, the control room. Lights on, hatches, forward and aft, standing open, chart table visible, instruments gleaming, and not one single German remaining aboard. The whaler's crew had reached 100 yards from Bulldog when Baker Creswell made his decision. Standard procedure demanded finishing U-110 with gunfire or ramming. Standing orders required destroying enemy vessels. But this submarine was floating when physics and German discipline said she shouldn't be. If German procedure had broken down, if scuttling charges hadn't been set, if demolition routines had somehow failed, then U-110 might contain exactly what the Admiralty had been hunting for 21 months. Baker Creswell had watched U-110 attack convoy OB-318 at 11:58 hours that morning. 2 ships gone in seconds. SS Bangor Head, 2,609 gross registered tons, cargo of coal. SS Esmond, 4,076 tons, general cargo. Both torpedoed simultaneously from outside the convoy screen, both sinking within minutes. Textbook Wolfpack tactics. U-110 had fired, submerged, and begun reloading when HMS Aubritia gained ASDIC contact at 12:05 hours. Aubritia was a Flower-class corvette. 40 tons displacement, Commander V.F. Smith, Royal Naval Reserve. She'd prosecuted the contact with depth charges, 5-charge pattern, settings at 150, 200 and 250 feet. The explosions had brought U-110 to the surface, stern first at 12:18 hours, emergency blow, all ballast tanks venting, seawater cascading from conning tower hatches. As she broke through at a 30-degree up angle, Bulldog had opened fire immediately. 4 4.7-inch guns, 2 2-pounder pom-poms. Range 450 yards. The conning tower had taken multiple hits. The German crew had abandoned within 90 seconds, flooding through the forward hatch, jumping into the Atlantic without life jackets. Lemp had been last seen swimming back toward his submarine. Whether attempting to reboard or simply disoriented, no survivor could confirm. 15 men drowned, 32 survived to become prisoners, and U-110 continued floating. Why? German standing orders were explicit. Scuttle before capture, open main vents, set demolition charges. Will no destroy codebooks, destroy cipher equipment, smash instruments, flood the boat. Every U-boat commander carried these orders. Every crew trained on emergency destruction procedures, yet U-110 floated. At 12:40 hours, Baker Creswell had ordered Balme into the whaler. The boarding party consisted of Sub-Lieutenant Balme, able seaman Pierce, Dolly, Rowe, and Wileman, ordinary seaman Hargreaves and Trotter, telegraphist Alan Long, and stoker Charles Lee. Average age 22, combined intelligence training 0. Their orders: recover everything portable before the submarine sank. Balme dropped through the control room hatch at 12:52 hours. His boots hit German decking. Water on the deck plates, not flooding, just residual seawater from the emergency surface. A large steel splinter from the conning tower lay near the chart table, driven through by shell fire. The air pressure was equalizing, slight hiss from ruptured piping, but breathable. No chlorine gas. The gas masks they'd brought stayed in the whaler. The wireless office was 5 feet forward, starboard side. Door open. Balme gestured to telegraphist Long. The 19-year-old moved forward, revolver still drawn, then stopped. "Sir." The wireless office was intact. Not just intact, perfect. Documents stacked on the desk, codebooks on shelves, paybooks in cubbyholes, signal logs in racks. The wireless sets themselves were compact, simpler than British equivalents, fewer switches and controls. And on the desk plugged into the electrical supply, still warm from recent use, sat a machine resembling a typewriter. Long approached it carefully. Pressed a key. A lamp illuminated, not the letter he'd pressed, but a different one. He pressed another key, different result. He looked at Balme. "It's peculiar, sir." "Send it up." At 13:05 hours, aboard Bulldog, Baker Creswell held a Type M3 Kriegsmarine Enigma machine, 3 rotors visible through the open lid, electrical wiring, plugboard with 13 pairs of letters cross-wired, lampboard showing substitution results. The machine Germany believed was mathematically unbreakable, the machine whose capture justified risking every ship in the escort group. The machine Bletchley Park had been hunting since September 1939, but Balme still hadn't found the one thing the Admiralty feared Germany would guard even more fiercely than the machine itself. Somewhere inside U-110 were the keys that made Enigma come alive, and without them, the machine was nothing more than a dead, silent box of wires. If stories like this remind you of the courage and clarity our grandparents' generation carried on their shoulders, you're welcome to subscribe and stay with us. These moments deserve to be remembered. Now back to the moment that changed everything. Balme formed a human chain through U-110's narrow passageways. Pierce in the wireless office passing documents to Dolly in the control room, who passed them to Rowe at the conning tower ladder, who sent them up to Wheelerman on the outer casing, who loaded them into the whaler. Books, charts, logs, codebooks, anything not bolted down. Speed was essential. U-110 was settling. The stern had dropped another 3 degrees. Water was entering somewhere aft, slowly, but inevitably. How long until the submarine took the dive? 10 minutes? 30? 2 hours? The documents told Germany's story in reverse. Kurzsignaler, the short signal book used for compressed contact reports, convoy sightings, weather. Every U-boat carried one. This copy was current for May 1941, Wetterkurzschlüssel, Weather Short Signal Book, Erkennungsverfahren, Recognition and Identification Procedures, Enigma key tables showing daily rotor settings, plugboard configurations, ring positions, every element required to decrypt German naval wireless traffic. The Kriegsmarine had designed a system they considered unbreakable through mathematics alone. The Enigma machine's 3 rotors, chosen from a set of 8, could be arranged in 336 different orders. Each rotor had 26 possible starting positions. The plugboard allowed 157,738,274, 937, 250 possible configurations. Total key space, approximately 159 quintillion possible settings. No human could test them all. No mechanical calculator of 1941 could iterate through the possibilities within useful time frames. But Bletchley Park didn't need to test every possibility. They needed known plain text, probable word patterns, and captured key material. The Enigma machine alone wasn't enough. Without the daily keys, without the codebooks, without the operating procedures, the machine was simply an interesting electromechanical puzzle. With all 3 together, the cipher was transparent. Balme didn't know this. He was following orders. Take everything. The metal chart table diagrams secured overhead. Strip them. The code books in drawers. Take them. The logs and papers scattered across the wardroom table. Grab them. The spare rotor wheels stored in the wireless office. Send them up. Work fast. The submarine is sinking. At 13:15 hours, Balme signaled Bulldog. U-boat appears seaworthy and towable. The port motor was running slow ahead, unstoppable through any switch configuration they could find. The starboard motor was dead. Main ballast tanks were holding, mostly. But the stern was definitely sinking. Baker Creswell made the calculation. Iceland was 400 nautical miles northeast, 30 hours at 8 knots. U-110 might make it. The intelligence haul would be delivered intact. The Admiralty would have not just documents, but a complete submarine for technical analysis. He ordered the tows secured. At 13:40 hours, HMS Broadway's boat arrived with Bulldog's chief engine room artificer and a working party. They went below to assess U-110's machinery. The Seera reported, "Port electric motor running, no way to stop it without damaging control systems. Starboard motor inoperative. Diesel engines intact but offline. Batteries functional but depleting. Pumps available, but operating them would drain remaining power. Flooding was slow but constant through damaged aft ballast tank vents. His recommendation, tow her as she lies, monitor the flooding, prepare to evacuate if she goes down suddenly. The tow wire, 2-inch flexible steel, 120 fathoms, was passed from Bulldog to U-110's forward bollards. These were flush-mounted deck fittings, 6 inches diameter, that could be pulled up and clipped into position. An old, rusty 2-inch wire from U-110 in stores was used initially, but parted under tension within minutes. Bulldog sent across proper towing gear. At 1400 hours, U-110 was under tow, course 045 degrees, speed 7 knots. At 1420 hours, Bulldog's ASDIC operator reported possible submarine contact, range 1,200 yards, bearing 180 degrees relative. Moving slowly, left to right. Baker Creswell faced the same calculation that had confronted him at 12:40, standing orders versus opportunity. The contact might be U-201, which had been operating in company with U-110 during the morning attack. Leaving U-110 drifting might mean losing her. But letting a U-boat escape meant endangering the convoy. He slipped the tow. Bulldog turned onto an attack course. The contact faded before weapons range. Possible submarine crash diving, possible whale, possible thermal layer giving false return. Baker Cresswell, prosecuted for 40 minutes, found nothing conclusive, returned to U-110. The submarine had listed another 5 degrees to port in Bulldog's absence. The stern was lower. Water was visible through the after-conning tower door. Balme evacuated his party except for 3 ratings, who remained aboard to resecure the tow and close additional watertight doors if possible. At 1500 hours, the tow was re-established. U-110 wallowed astern of Bulldog, rolling heavily, taking green water over the casing with each wave. The mathematics of war now declared a different equation. Type NYXB U-boat, 76.5 meters overall length, 1,152 tons, surfaced, displacement, crew, complement of 48, operational range, 8,700 nautical miles, construction time 14 months, crew training time 18 months, cost approximately 4 million Reichsmarks. Germany possessed 56 operational ocean-going U-boats in May 1941. Monthly production, 6 boats. Monthly losses, 3 boats average. Crew replacement pipeline, 22 months per trained crew. British B-class destroyer, 98.5 meters length, 1,360 tons, displacement. Crew 138, construction time 18 months. The Royal Navy operated 246 destroyers, corvettes and escort vessels in Atlantic convoy duties. Monthly construction, 4 escort vessels. Monthly losses, 2 vessels average. Allied merchant shipping losses, April 1941, 687,000 gross registered tons. Replacement construction, 320,000 tons monthly. The deficit was unsustainable. At current loss rates, Britain's merchant fleet would reach critical insufficiency in 14 months. The Atlantic convoy system was failing because U-boats attacked with near impunity, exploiting gaps in air cover, hitting convoys from outside the escort screen, then submerging beyond ASDIC range. But the real crisis was intelligence. The Royal Navy was fighting blind. German U-boats communicated via Enigma encrypted wireless. Their patrol lines, attack coordinates, convoy intercepts, all transmitted in cipher the British couldn't read. Bletchley Park had broken Luftwaffe and Wehrmacht Enigma variants by May 1940. But Kriegsmarine Enigma remained impenetrable. The naval variant used additional security, Bigram tables, reserved hand ciphers, and complex key distribution that Alan Turing's bomb machines couldn't crack without captured materials. Every previous attempt to capture naval Enigma had failed. Boarding parties had found submarines scuttled, cipher equipment smashed, codebooks burned. The Kriegsmarine's destruction procedures were efficient and thorough. Until 9th of May 1941, when Fritz Julius Lemp made his final miscalculation. Why had U-110's scuttling failed? German survivors, interrogated separately in isolation, provided fragments. The depth charge attack had been unusually close, closer than any previous attack in their experience. The explosions had ruptured ballast tanks and knocked out electrical systems, emergency lighting only, chlorine gas leaking from cracked battery cells, stern settling. Lemp had ordered emergency blow and U-110 had surfaced, stern first into Bulldog's guns, shells striking the conning tower, men abandoning through the forward hatch. No time to collect life jackets, no time to follow destruction procedures. Lemp's last order shouted from the bridge, "Scuttle charges set, abandon ship, move quickly." But the charges hadn't been set. Either Lemp believed they were armed when they weren't, or the electrical damage prevented detonation, or in the chaos someone failed to complete. The decrypts taken from U-110 would save convoys, sink U-boats, and help turn the Battle of the Atlantic. And it all began with a 20-year-old sub-lieutenant who stepped into a dark, silent submarine and decided to go one hatch deeper. If you believe these quiet acts of bravery should never fade from memory, you're welcome to join the channel. Every subscription helps keep these stories alive for the next generation.